Hey all you cats and kittens, it's Ms. Lapper, about to read another installment of Flowers for Algernon. So we left off on page 13. We learned about Charlie. He has intellectual disabilities, a lot of spelling mistakes, a lot of grammar mistakes in his journal that he is writing, and he's writing the journal as a part of the scientific experiment where he is going to have a surgery that will give him intelligence. And so the doctors want him to write so that they can kind of track his progress. So we're starting on page 13, but in the middle. I don't know what page I'll stop. I'm just going to kind of look at the clock and see around the 25 minute mark, I'll stop. Positive about doing these on video is that you guys can listen to me read at any time of the day, whatever works best for you. I know my sixth period didn't like listening to stories at the very end of the day, and I understand. But now, sixth period, you guys can listen whenever you want. So, stirring in some positivity. Here we go. Progress Report 7, March 11. The operation didn't hurt. Dr. Strauss did it while I was sleeping. I don't know how because I didn't see, but there was bandages on my eyes and my head for 3 days, so I couldn't make no progress report till today. The skinny nurse who watched me writing says I spelled progress wrong, and she told me how to spell it and report to and march. I got to remember that. I have a very bad memory for spelling. Anyway, they took off the bandages from my eyes today so I can make a progress report now. But there is still some bandages on my head. I was scared when they came in and told me it was time to go for the operation. They made me get out of the bed and on another bed that has wheels on it, and they rolled me out of the room and down the hall to the door that says surgery. Boy, was I surprised that it was a big room with green walls and lots of doctors sitting around up high all around the room watching the operation. I didn't know it was going to be like a show. So what he's talking about is sometimes when they do surgeries, they have what's called like an auditorium seating. So sometimes you'll see it in movies and stuff where they have all these doctors sitting around watching the operation because it's a very special and important operation. So that's what he's talking about. A man came up to the table all in white and with a white cloth on his face like in TV shows and rubber gloves. And he said, "Relax, Charlie, it's me, Dr. Strauss." I said, "Hi, Doc, I'm scared." He said, "There's nothing to be scared about, Charlie." He said, "You'll just go to sleep." I said, "That's what I'm scared about." He patted my head, and then 2 other men wearing white masks too came and strapped my arms and legs down so I couldn't move them. And that made me very scared, and my stomach felt tight like I was gonna make all over. But I didn't, only wet a little, and I was gonna cry, but they put a rubber thing on my face for me to breathe in, and it smelled funny. All the time I heard Dr. Strauss talking out loud about the operation, telling everybody what he was gonna do. But I didn't understand anything about it, and I was thinking maybe after the operation I'll be smart and I'll understand all the things he's talking about. So I breathed deep, and then I guess I was very tired because I went to sleep. He didn't really understand what anesthesia was or what he meant by go to sleep. He didn't understand the concept. When I waked up, I was back in my bed and it was very dark. I couldn't see nothing, but I heard some talking. It was the nurse, and Bert and I said, "What's the matter? Why don't you put on the lights? And when are they gonna operate?" And they laughed, and Bert said, "Charlie, it's all over. And it's dark because you got bandages over your eyes." It's a funny thing. They did it while I was sleeping. Bert comes in to see me every day to write down all the things like my temperature and my blood pressure and the other things about me. He says it's on account of the scientific method. They gotta keep records about what happens so they can do it again when they want to. Not to me, but to the other people like me who ain't smart. That's why I got to do these progress reports. So this is very important. I don't know if you guys can see very well. See if you can see. So right here, he was about to write progress, but spell it wrong, and then he stopped, crossed it out, and wrote progress reports correctly. So what does that tell you? Alyssa, what does that tell you? Correct. It tells you that the operation was a success because he has now remembered how to spell a word correctly. And he was about to spell it wrong, but he caught himself and he spelled it correctly. Thank you, Alyssa. Bert says it's part of the experiment and they will make photostats of the reports. He did it again. He went RIP He crossed it out, and then he wrote reports correctly. Make photostats, I don't know, Fotastats, photostats of the reports to study them so they will know what is going on in my mind. I don't see how they will know what is going on in my mind by looking at these reports. I've read them over and over and a lot of times to see what I wrote, and I don't know what's going on in my mind, so how are they going to? But anyway, that's science, and I gotta try to be smart like other people. Then, when I am smart, they will talk to me, and I can sit with them and listen like Joe Carp and Frank and Gimpy do when they talk and have a discussion about important things. While they're working, they start talking about things like God, or about the trouble with all the money the president is spending, or about the Republicans and Democrats, and they get all excited like they're gonna have a fight. So Mr. Donner got to come in and tell them to get back to baking, or they'll all get canned, union or no union. I want to talk about things like that. If you're smart, you can have lots of friends to talk to, and you'll never get lonely by yourself all the time. Professor Niemer says it's okay to tell about all the things that happened to me in the progress reports, but he says I should write more about what I feel and what I think and remember about the past. I told him I don't know how to think or remember, and he said just try. All the time the bandages were on my eyes, I tried to think and remember, but nothing happened. I don't know what to think or remember about. Maybe if I ask him, he will tell me how I can think now that I am supposed to get smart. What do smart people think about or remember? Fancy things, I bet. I wish I knew some new fancy things already. March 12th. I don't have to write progress report on top every day, just when I start a new batch after Professor Niemer takes the old ones away. I just have to put the date on top. That saves time. It's a good idea. I can sit up in bed and look out the window at the grass and trees outside. The skinny nurse's name is Hilda, and she is very good to me. She brings me things to eat and fixes my bed, and she says I was a very brave man to let them do things to my head. She says she would never let them do things to her brains for all the tea in China. I told her it wasn't for tea in China. It was to make me smart. And she said, maybe they got no right to make me smart, because if God wanted me to be smart, he would have made me born that way. And what about Adam and Eve and the sin with the tree of knowledge and eating the apple in the fall? And maybe Professor Niemer and Dr. Strauss was tampering with things they got no right to tamper with. She's very skinny, and when she talks, her face gets all red. She says, maybe I better pray to God to ask him to forgive what they'd done to me. I didn't eat no apples or nothing sinful. And now I'm scared. Maybe I shouldn't have let them operate on my brains. Like she said, if it's against God, I don't want to make God angry. March 13. They changed my nurse today. This one is pretty. Her name is Lucille. She showed me how to spell it for my progress report, and she got yellow hair and blue eyes. I asked her where was Hilda, and she said Hilda wasn't working in this part of the hospital no more. Only in the maternity ward by the babies, where it don't matter if she talks too much. When I asked her about what was maternity, she said it was about having babies. But when I asked her how they got them, or how they have them, she got red in the face, just the same like Hilda. And she said she got to take somebody's temperature. Nobody ever tells me about the babies. Maybe if this thing works out and I get smart, I'll find out. So Charlie's 32 years old. And he does not know where babies come from. So is that a very typical thing, Thomas? No, it's not, okay? And now you guys all know where babies come from because you've been through family life. And when I talked about this in class, you all got real embarrassed and would not say anything about it. So I'll just leave it at that. So hopefully you all know where babies come from, and hopefully Charlie will learn later in the book. Okay. Miss Kinnian came to see me today, and she said, Charlie, you look wonderful. I told her I feel fine, but I don't feel smart yet. I thought that when the operation was over and they took the bandages off my eyes, I'd be smart and know a lot of things so I could read and talk about important things like everybody else. She said, that's not the way it works, Charlie. It comes slowly, and you have to work very hard to get smart. I didn't know that. If I got to work hard anyway, what did I have to have the operation for? She says she wasn't sure, but the operation was to make it so that when I did work hard to get smart, it would stick with me and not be like it was before when it didn't stick so good. Well, I told her that made me feel kind of bad because I thought I was going to be smart right away and I could go back to show the guys at the bakery how smart I am and talk with them about things and maybe even get to be an assistant baker. Then I was going to try and find my mom and dad. They would be surprised to see how smart I got because my mom always wanted me to be smart too. Maybe they wouldn't send me away no more if they see how smart I am. I told Miss Kinnian I would try hard to be smart as I would try hard to be smart as hard as I can. She patted my hand and said, I know you will. I have faith in you, Charlie. So the operation doesn't give him immediate intelligence, but it gives him the ability to grasp information a lot easier than he did before. He would learn things, but he would forget them. And now that he's had the operation, the information will stick. So he still will have to learn how to do math, learn how to read and write, but he'll be able to remember everything he learns, and therefore his intelligence will go up. Progress Report 8, and he spelled progress report correctly again. March 15. I'm out of the hospital, but not back at work yet. Nothing is happening. I had lots of tests and different kinds of races with Algernon. I hate that mouse. He always beats me. Professor Niemer says I gotta play those games and I gotta take those tests over and over again. Those amazes are stupid, and those pictures are stupid too. I like to draw the pictures of a man and woman, but I won't make up lies about people. And I can't do the puzzles good. I get headaches from trying to think and remember so much. Dr. Strauss promised he was going to help me, but he don't. He don't tell me what to think or when I'll get smart. He just makes me lay down on a couch and talk. Miss Kinnian comes to see me at the college too. I told her nothing was happening. When am I going to get smart? She said, you gotta be patient, Charlie. These things take time. It will happen so slowly, you won't know what's happening. She said Bert told her I was coming along fine. I still think those races and those tests are stupid, and I think writing these progress reports are stupid too. March 16. I ate lunch with Bert at the college restaurant. They got all kinds of good food, and I don't have to pay for it neither. I like to sit and watch the college boys and girls. They fool around sometimes, but mostly they talk about all kinds of things, just like the bakers do at Donner's Bakery. Bert says it's about art and politics and religion. I don't know what those things are, but I know religion is God. Mom used to tell me all about him and the things he'd done to make the world. She said I should always love God and pray to him. I don't remember how to pray to him, but I think Mom used to make me pray to him a lot when I was a kid, that he should make me get better and not be sick. I don't remember how I was sick. I think it was about me not being smart. So his mother would make him pray to be smart and not be sick, as if his intellectual disability is something wrong with him. His mother wasn't accepting of him. Anyway, and another side note, so his mother, when we start the book, he really doesn't remember anything about his family, where he lives, where he grew up, what it was like as a child. He doesn't really remember any of his past because he just forgets. But after the surgery, we're going to start to get little nuggets of information about his past. So when you hear this information, lock it away. Anyway, Bert says if the experiment works, I'll be able to understand all of those things the students are talking about. And I said, do you think I'll be smart like them? And he laughed and said, those kids aren't so smart. You'll pass them as if they're standing still. He introduced me to a lot of the students, and some of them look at me funny, like I don't belong in college. I almost forgot and started to tell them I was going to be very smart soon like them, but Bert interrupted, and he told them I was cleaning the psych department lab. Later, he explained to me there mustn't be any publicity. That means it's a secret. I don't really understand why I got to keep it a secret. Bert says it's in case there's a failure. Professor Niemer don't want everybody to laugh, especially the people from Wellberg Foundation who gave him the money for the project. I said, I don't care if people laugh at me. Lots of people laugh at me, and they're my friends, and we have fun. Bert put his arm on my shoulder and said, it's not you Niemer's worried about. He don't want people to laugh at him. I didn't think people would laugh at Professor Niemer because he's a scientist in a college. But Bert said no scientist is a great man to his colleagues and his graduate students. Bert is a graduate student, and he is a major in psychology, like the name on the door to the lab. I didn't know they had majors in college. I thought it was only in the army. Anyway, I hope I get smart soon because I want to learn everything there is in the world, like the college boys know, all about art and politics and God. So we learn that this experiment that Charlie went through is supposed to be a secret until they know if it works, because they don't want to brag that they made him smart until they really know that it worked and is successful, because Professor Niemer doesn't want to be a laughingstock. So how is this going to go in Charlie's life when he starts making kind of improvements in his life and he can't tell people that it was an experiment? So how it's going to look. March 17. When I waked up this morning, right away, I thought I was going to be smart, but I'm not. Every morning I think I'm going to be smart, but nothing happens. Maybe the experiment didn't work. Maybe I won't get smart, and I'll have to go live at the Warren house. I hate the tests, and I hate the amazed, and I hate Algernon. I never knew before that I was dumber than a mouse. I don't feel like writing any more progress reports. I forget things, and even when I write them in my notebook, sometimes I can't read my own writing, and it's very hard. Miss Kinnian says, have patience, but I feel sick and tired, and I get headaches all the time. I want to go back to work in the bakery and not write progress reports anymore. And again, he wrote progress, and he started it incorrectly, so he crossed it out, and then he wrote progress correctly, which is another sign that he's remembering things. March 20. I'm going back to work at the bakery. Dr. Strauss told Professor Niemer it was better I should go back to work, but I still can't tell anyone what the operation was for, and I have to come up to the lab for 2 hours every night after work for my tests and keep writing these dumb reports. They're going to pay me every week, like for a part-time job, because that was part of the arrangement when they got the money from the Wellberg Foundation. I still don't know what that Wellberg thing is. Miss Kinnian explained me, but I still don't get it. So if I didn't get smart, why are they paying me to write these dumb things? If they're going to pay me, I'll do it, but it's very hard to write. I'm glad I'm going back to work because I miss my job at the bakery and all my friends and all the fun we have. I'll hold that thought. Dr. Strauss says I should keep a notebook in my pocket for things I remember. And I don't have to do the progress reports every day, just when I think of something or something special happens. I told him nothing special ever happens to me, and it don't look like this special experiment is going to happen neither. He says, don't get discouraged, Charlie, because it takes a long time, and it happens slow, and you can't notice it right away. He explained how it took a long time with Algernon before he got 3 times smarter than he was before. That's why Algernon beats me all the time in that amaze race, because he had that operation too. He's a special mouse, the first animal to stay smart for so long after the operation. I didn't know he was a special mouse. That makes it different. I could probably do that amaze faster than a regular mouse. Maybe someday I'll beat Algernon. Boy, would that be something. Dr. Strauss says that so far, Algernon looks like he might be smart permanent. And he said that's a good sign because we both had the same kind of operation, which means that Algernon has had the same operation as Charlie, and they think that by watching Algernon, they can see what's going to happen to Charlie. So in the story as well, pay attention to Algernon's progress, pay attention to Charlie's progress, because they're one and the same. March 21st. We had a lot of fun at the bakery today. Joe Karp said, hey, look where Charlie had his operation. What did they do, Charlie? Put some brains in? I was going to tell him about me getting smart, but I remembered Professor Niemer said no. Then Frank Riley said, what did you do, Charlie? Open a door the hard way? That made me laugh. They're my friends, and they really like me. Are they his friends, and do they really like him? All right, that's what we're going to look at in this section. There is a lot of work to catch up. They didn't have anyone to clean out the place because that was my job, but they got a new boy, Ernie, to do the deliveries that I always done. Mr. Donner said he decided not to fire him for a while to give me a chance to rest up and not work so hard. I told him I was all right and I can make my deliveries and clean up like I always done, but Mr. Donner says we will keep the boy. I said, so what am I going to do? And Mr. Donner patted me on the shoulder and says, Charlie, how old are you? I told him 32 years, going on 33 my next birthday. And how long you been here? He said. I told him I didn't know. He said, "You came here 17 years ago. Your Uncle Herman, God rest his soul, was my best friend. He brought you in here and he asked me to let you work here and look after you as best I could. And when he died 2 years later and your mother had you committed to the Warren home, I got them to release you on outside work placement. 17 years it's been, Charlie, and I want you to know that the bakery business is not so good. But like I always said, you got a job here for the rest of your life. So don't worry about me bringing in somebody to take your place. You'll never have to go back to that Warren home." Okay, so Mr. Donner just gave us an insight into Charlie's past. So when Charlie was a teenager, he was living with his uncle. His uncle got him the job at the bakery. And then when his uncle passed away, Charlie had to go to the Warren State home because his mother did not want to take care of him, and his uncle couldn't anymore. So then Mr. Donner had him removed from the state home on work placement. So now Charlie can be on his own, but work at the bakery and not live at the state home. So this boss sounds like a very nice man because he's taking care of him, and he said he would never fire him. I ain't worried. Only what does he need Ernie for to deliver and work around here when I was always delivering the packages good? He says the boy needs the money, Charlie, so I'm going to keep him on as an apprentice to learn him to be a baker. You can be his assistant and help him out on deliveries when he needs it. I never was an assistant before. Ernie is very smart, but the other people in the bakery don't like him so much. They're all my good friends, and we have lots of jokes and laughs here. Sometimes somebody will say, "Hey, look at Frank," or Joe, or even Gimpy. "He really pulled a Charlie Gordon that time." I don't know why they say it, but they always laugh, and I laugh too. This morning, Gimpy, he's the head baker, and he has a bad foot, and he limps. He used my name when he shouted at Ernie because Ernie lost a birthday cake. He said, "Ernie, for God's sake, you trying to be a Charlie Gordon?" I don't know why he said that. I never lost any packages. I asked Mr. Donner if I could learn to be an apprentice baker like Ernie. I told him I could learn it if he gave me a chance. Mr. Donner looked at me for a long time funny, because I guess I don't talk so much most of the time. And Frank heard me, and he laughed and laughed until Mr. Donner told him to shut up and go tend to his oven. Then Mr. Donner said to me, "There's lots of time for that, Charlie. A baker's work is very important and very complicated, and you shouldn't worry about things like that." I wish I could tell him and all the other people about my real operation. I wish it would really work already so I could get smart like everybody else. So, the people at the bakery are not his real friends, but Charlie does not know that. They use him as the joke. Anytime someone makes a mistake, they say, "Hey, you pulled a Charlie Gordon," which is not nice. And Charlie does not know that. And if you think about our society today, if you ever knew anyone with intellectual disabilities or anyone with any type of mental illness, you would never make fun of them for that. And so the fact that these men are making fun of Charlie in his capacity is very, very cruel and evil. So he is not their friend. They are not his friend. But Charlie does not know that. Charlie is happy. He thinks that they are his friends, so he is ignorant to the fact that they're mean to him, but he doesn't care because he doesn't know. As he gains intelligence, will he start to figure it out? And then how will he feel? Okay, so I'm going to stop that today. Hope you're enjoying this. Email me with questions. Subscribe, because then you get alerted, I think, when I post new videos. I'll try to do it every day. That's it. Miss you. Bye.